Did you know Africa's history is filled with unsung revolutionary heroes who risked everything to liberate their people from colonial oppression? Get ready to be inspired by the incredible, untold stories of 7 leaders who defied powerful empires and shaped the continent's destiny against all odds. Greetings and welcome. I'm Carolyn A. from GettingToTheRoots.com. Here, we're all about uncovering and celebrating your unique family history. Together, we'll explore and honor the stories that define us. Let's dive in and discover the unsung heroes who shaped Africa's destiny. 1. Amilcar Cabral, 1924 to 1973. Now, let's talk about Amilcar Cabral. Ever heard of him? He's a bit of an unsung hero, but his impact on African liberation is undeniable. Cabral's mission was crystal clear: to free Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde from the shackles of Portuguese colonialism. This was no easy feat, but Cabral was not one to back down from a challenge. He co-founded and led the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, a powerful liberation movement that combined armed struggle with social and political mobilization. Cabral wasn't just a military leader, he was a brilliant thinker who understood the complex dynamics of colonialism and resistance. His legacy extends far beyond the borders of Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. Cabral's writings and speeches on guerrilla warfare, national liberation, and cultural identity continue to inspire activists and scholars around the world. He's a true revolutionary icon, even if his name isn't as widely known as some others. Tragically, Cabral was assassinated in 1973, just a year before Guinea-Bissau gained independence. His death was a devastating blow to the liberation movement, but his vision and determination lived on, ultimately leading to the end of Portuguese rule. 2. Samora Machel, 1933 to 1986, died in a plane crash, widely suspected to be sabotage, orchestrated by apartheid South Africa. Now, let's shift our focus to Samora Machel, a name that resonates with the spirit of determination and visionary leadership. Machel wasn't just a politician. He was a revolutionary leader whose life was dedicated to the liberation and transformation of Mozambique. Machel's mission was ambitious and multidimensional. He aimed not only to achieve independence from Portuguese colonial rule, but also to transform Mozambique into a socialist state. He envisioned a country where resources and wealth were equitably shared among its people, free from the exploitation and inequalities that marked colonial rule. As the leader of the Front for the Liberation of Mozambique, Machel was at the forefront of the armed struggle that eventually led to independence in 1975. His leadership did not end with military success. He became the first president of an independent Mozambique, immediately embarking on ambitious reforms. He introduced policies to improve education, healthcare, and agriculture, aiming to uplift the living standards of his people. Samora Machel's legacy is a powerful testament to his leadership and vision. He remains a symbol of determination and resilience in the face of colonial oppression. 3. Hissène Habre, 1942 to 2021, died in prison. Next, the story of Hissène Habre, a figure whose rule as president of Chad from 1982 to 1990 was filled with both achievements and severe controversies. Habre came to power in 1982 with promises of restoring stability and promoting development in Chad after years of conflict. During his presidency, he oversaw the construction of infrastructure like roads, schools, and hospitals, improving access to basic services for many Chadians. His government also supported the agricultural sector and domestic industries, aiming for economic self-sufficiency. However, Habre's methods were highly criticized. and his regime was accused of widespread human rights violations, including torture, unlawful slayings, and imprisoning people without fair trials. The Extraordinary African Chambers was established in Senegal to try Habré. This marked the first time a former head of state faced trial in another country's court. The Extraordinary African Chambers had jurisdiction over cases involving serious violations committed in Chad during Habré's rule from 1982 to 1990. And the chambers received support and cooperation from countries like Belgium, the Netherlands, and the United States. In 2016, after a lengthy trial, Habré was convicted of crimes against humanity, war crimes, and torture. He received a life sentence. While some analysts argue that the extent of the violations may have been exaggerated or politicized by Western powers, who viewed Habré as a threat to their interests in the region. His story shines a light on the stark reality that accountability for human rights violations is often determined by geopolitical power dynamics rather than an impartial pursuit of justice. While Habré faced trial and conviction, many other leaders and nations have escaped consequences for equally horrific crimes against humanity. The haunting legacy of the Atlantic slave trade, which devastated and dehumanized millions of Africans over centuries, stands as a glaring example. European colonial powers benefited greatly from the systemic exploitation and abuse of African people, including through forced labor, violence, and displacement. Yet, they have not been held accountable on a global scale for these atrocities. Even in modern times, we witness powerful nations committing war crimes, enabling genocides, and oppressing their own citizens with impunity.
His name is John Kouzmi. He's the founder of China.
I can tell you that we saw that massacre. All right? The massacre in Tiananmen Square, June 4, 1989, it was not hidden. It was rare as an event that was well covered by CNN.
From the massacre of protesters to the horrors of colonialism and slavery, to the targeted slayings of unarmed black men and women by police in the United States, to the ongoing displacement and oppression of indigenous communities worldwide, those in positions of power have repeatedly violated the rights of the most vulnerable. The reason some nations face consequences while others do not often comes down to a nation's political, economic, and military might on the world stage. Powerful countries can leverage their influence to avoid prosecution, while leaders of smaller, less influential nations are more vulnerable to being made examples of. Habré's trial highlighted the long road ahead in achieving true, equal justice for all victims of human rights atrocities, regardless of the perpetrating nation's clout. 4. Steve Biko, 1946 to 1977, died in police custody in South Africa. Now, let's turn to Steve Biko, a name that stands out in the history of South Africa as a beacon of courage and a voice for racial dignity. Biko wasn't just a political activist, he was a visionary whose ideas about Black empowerment and self-awareness changed the course of a nation. Biko's mission was deeply rooted in the psychological emancipation of South Africans. He believed that before physical liberation, Black people needed to break free from the shackles of inferiority imposed by apartheid. His philosophy was all about fostering a sense of pride and worth among the Black community. As a key figure in the anti-apartheid movement, Biko's approach was revolutionary. He founded the Black Consciousness Movement, which aimed to empower Black people and rebuild their sense of identity that apartheid had tried so hard to suppress. This movement wasn't just about protests. It was about changing how Black people viewed themselves in a society that classified them as second-class citizens. Steve Biko's legacy is poignant and powerful. 5. Thomas Sankara, 1949 to 1987, assassinated in a coup in Burkina Faso. Alright, buckle up, because this next leader is a true revolutionary. We're talking about Thomas Sankara, the charismatic and visionary president of Burkina Faso. Sankara was on a mission to completely transform his country from the ground up. He wanted Burkina Faso to stand on its own 2 feet, free from dependency on foreign aid and neocolonialism. His dream was a country that was self-sufficient, equitable, and proud of its African identity. Sankara wasn't just all talk, he put his words into action. He implemented radical policies like land redistribution, giving power back to the people who worked the land. He championed women's rights, appointing women to key government positions and advocating for their education and empowerment. And he waged a relentless war against corruption, cracking down on those who exploited the system. Sankara's bold vision and unwavering commitment to his people earned him the nickname, Africa's Che Guevara. 6. Patrice Lumumba, 1925 to 1961. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most iconic figures in African history, Patrice Lumumba. This man wasn't just a leader, he was a symbol of hope and defiance for a nation yearning for freedom. Lumumba's mission was clear and unwavering: to achieve independence for the Congo and unite its people, freeing them from the clutches of Belgian colonial exploitation. He envisioned a Congo that was strong, prosperous, and truly sovereign. In 1960, Lumumba became Congo's first democratically elected prime minister, a testament to his popularity and the people's trust in his leadership. He had a powerful voice and a passionate commitment to his country's future. Lumumba's tenure was short-lived, as he was assassinated in a coup backed by Belgian authorities and the United States just months after taking office. Fears that Lumumba's socialist leanings and determination to assert Congo's independence from Western influence posed a threat to Western interests in the resource-rich country, which served as the driving force behind the coup. Lumumba was brutally beaten and eventually executed by a firing squad. His body was then dismembered and dissolved in acid, in an attempt to erase all traces of his existence. Number 7. Kwame Nkrumah, 1909 to 1972, died in exile in Romania. And finally, we arrive at one of the most influential figures in the entire Pan-African movement, Kwame Nkrumah. This man was a visionary, a trailblazer, and a tireless advocate for a united Africa. Nkrumah's mission was ambitious and far-reaching. He believed that the true liberation of Africa could only be achieved through unity, solidarity, and cooperation among all its nations. He saw the potential for a united Africa to become a global powerhouse, free from the shackles of colonialism and neocolonialism. His work was instrumental in bringing this vision to life. Nkrumah led Ghana to independence in 1957, becoming the country's first prime minister and later its president. But his ambitions extended beyond Ghana. He was a key advocate for the formation of the Organization of African Unity, a landmark achievement in the Pan-African movement. Nkrumah's legacy is one of immense vision and unwavering determination, and a deep commitment to the African continent. These leaders demonstrated that change is possible, even against overwhelming odds. And they remind us of the power of determined individuals to shape history. As we carry forward their legacy, let us draw inspiration from their courage and unwavering commitment to a fairer world. Let their lives encourage us to continue the fight for justice and equality in our own communities and across the globe. History seekers, that's a wrap on. Why were these African heroes feared by powerful empires? If you found these stories as inspiring as we did, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more enlightening content. To dive deeper into the historical context of these leaders' struggles, check out our video, How Did Europe Exploit, Divide, and Conquer Africa? This will give you a comprehensive look at the forces these leaders were up against and why their battles for liberation were so pivotal. Don't forget to continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us know which leader's story impacted you the most and why. Your insights make our community stronger. Thanks for watching. Peace and love.